2008 BMW M5. This is the E60 generation. One of the coolest M5s, I would say. This or the E39, right? Because this one is powered by the S85 engine. That's a naturally aspirated 5-liter V10, making 500 horsepower, 384 pound-feet of torque. Peak power occurs at 7,750 RPM and peak torque at 6,100 RPM with a redline of 8,250. What a cool centerpiece to this vehicle. When this came out, I think I was in middle school, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. 2005 is when this first debuted. It was made until 2010. They actually made a little over 20,000 between those years, and it was the world's first petrol V10 production sedan and the fastest sedan at the time, with a delimited top speed of 190 miles per hour. But, of course, with such a glorious engine, you have some issues. Not just the MPG, which is abysmal at 13, but also things like reliability. The S85 engine is actually related to the S65 engine, which is in the E9X M3, and it has very similar issues. You know, you get your rod bearing issues, your throttle actuator failures, and you can address these with preventive maintenance. And if you got the SMG, those are also prone to transmission issues. So these are notorious for having these engine issues, but that's the price you pay for, I guess, the innovation of the cutting edge technology at the time, because BMW was an engine manufacturer for Formula One. And as you guys know, Formula One in the 90s up until 2005, the cars were powered by V10s. And BMW was making engines for Williams, and they took a lot of the learnings and the technology there and the inspiration and made this very motorsport inspired S85. You got the high revving, more than 8,000 RPM redline. You got the individual throttle bodies. It was a very cool engine. And with that very high peak torque, it's an engine that really, encouraged you to rev it out as well. Keep in mind that the manual transmission was only offered in North America. The rest of the world got the 7-speed 3rd generation SMG, and that one didn't have the best reputation because, number one, reliability issues, and then number two, wasn't the smoothest with shifts. It was a little bit clunky at times. Market value for these is about $15,000 to $30,000, and the mods here, we have BC coilovers, which the current owner is planning to upgrade, Advan GT 19-inch wheels with 255 section width Continental Extreme Contact Sports in the front, and 295 section width Pilot Sport 4S in the rear, and also BMC air filters, which should help with hearing the engine. But if you guys watched my first video, first time I ever drove an E60 M5, I felt like the engine, which is such a special centerpiece of the car, it's a little bit muted. But let's see how this one compares. These active bolsters are also such an interesting feature. You have a few different settings for them here, so you can have them totally off or comfort, normal, and sport. We're going to start with sport. You have to press the M button to actually unlock all 500 horsepower. Without this pressed, you actually only get 400 horsepower, and then MDM for that partial traction. Now this car, they very much were pushing the envelope in terms of technology, so not only the engine, but these active bolsters in the seats. Also one of the earliest cars with iDrive, and I guess this car doesn't have it, but they also had a heads-up display, which was very new, very cutting edge at the time, and it didn't just show speed, but also showed you things like the gears and also your navigation. I feel like interiors have also come a long way in BMW since this car was made in the mid to late aughts. A lot of these hard touch plastics, and it's functional, it gets the job done, and the seats are cool not only because of these active bolsters, but you can actually adjust just about everything, even the thigh support. So if you're a taller driver, you can get into just the right position. Although keep in mind, this is a sedan, so you're going to be pretty upright, a bit higher up. The one thing I don't like about the position, though, is that this transmission, it feels really far away and very low down compared to where the steering wheel is. That V10 has some grunt, that's for sure. All right, these active bolsters are very interesting. In sport mode, they actually squeeze you, not just support the side that you're getting pushed against, but there's a little bit of a delay, so you feel the G-force, and then the bolsters kick in, and then after you straighten out, they take another second or two to deflate. Wow, this car has some serious get up and go though. Beautiful engine, really happy to rev out. Nice throttle response, easy with the rev match. A little bit sensitive with this M mode engaged. I feel like I can hear the engine more than in that other example, but it's still, unfortunately, not as front and center as I would want for a car that has such a special S85 engine, this V10. I actually like that in sport mode, the active bolsters hold you tight on both sides, whereas if we go back down into normal, it's only going to get the side that you're getting pushed against, and it's, again, quite a bit delayed. But it can't be that great of a feature if no manufacturer is doing that anymore, you know what I mean? Go back into sport. You can really feel the heft of this car. We have McPherson strut, multi-link rear, 4,000 pounds. Can actually vary a bit depending on the transmission. And the options that you choose. The manual transmission is very much BMW, so you have a little bit of that rubberiness. The throws are a little bit on the long side, but I guess that's congruent with the rest of the vehicle, because again, this is a performance luxury sedan, not a dedicated sports car. The BC coilovers are, you know, they're BC coilovers, so I think the owner wanting to upgrade them is a wise choice. They're not terrible, but of course, you're not going to get the best initial compression and compliance that you would get out of a higher quality coilover. Oh yeah, I can really feel the heft. A little bit of push. Oh, yep, you can feel the car just want to give you a little bit of that hint of rotation from the rear axle, just on that last turn right there. Not as playful and not as tail happy as some of the more modern M vehicles. But man, I would lust over these in middle school. I thought this was the ultimate dream car because it was, you know, V10, super fast, could also fit your family in it. And I remember watching that Top Gear episode that featured this. Such an incredible car. You can actually see the kind of the lineage and the trajectory of BMW. I think the E39 and E60 are the two best generations of M5, and they give you that modern driving dynamic, but they still feel a bit more analog rather than digital, because since then the F10 and onward M5s, they're much more disconnected, and even if they're faster, they don't have that same analog feel. So I really do think the E39, E60 are the best M5s that BMW ever created. But you are going to notice that with an M5, because this is a larger vehicle, a lot of the driver feedback and the communication is a little bit muted. So if you look at something like the E46 M3 or the E9X M3, which was contemporary with the E39 and the E60, those are going to be far sharper, a little bit substantially lighter, and so on. Whereas the M5s have always, of course, been a little bit more luxurious. So even things like the steering, you're not actually getting that much feedback through the wheel. It's very low volume, and it's totally fine. You know, by modern standards, the ratio feels a little bit slow. You know, when I actually drive older BMWs, I think that I have oftentimes remembered them with rose-tinted glasses. And you got to remember that this is the first M5 that actually has rack and pinion. Even the E39 had recirculating ball because they couldn't fit rack and pinion, just packaging issues, with that V8. You know, the biggest thing that bothers me about the car is really just the engine not being forward enough. I think these air filters might be helping out a little bit compared to the other example I drove. But it would be so cool if there was like an actual exhaust valve you could toggle on and off to hear the engine much more. Let me give you a proper pull. She is no slouch. brakes are actually not that bad. You can actually modulate them pretty well once you get into the pedal. Yeah, so getting into fifth right here, I gotta really reach, not good ergonomics. That big bump right there showing you the limitation of these BC coilovers. I think it's so cool what BMW has done with this car, especially bringing that motorsport inspired engine to a larger sedan like this. And at $15,000 to $30,000, I mean, it's hard to beat, but again, the big issue when you do innovation, when you do push the envelope in this way, is of course reliability. But in a day of fewer cylinder counts and more forced induction, I think a naturally aspirated V10 is just so special. My friends, let me know what you think with a comment down below. Much love, and I'll see you all in that next one.